guest on Always and Forever is Rachel Strever Hancock. She was Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen 2011, and I am so excited to have her on today.
Yay. I'm so happy to see you. Other side this time. I'm not judging you. You're interviewing me.
Here's my judge the first year I competed in 2018, and I remember when I walked in that interview room, I was just so excited to meet you. So this is fun. I get to interview you.
Yay.
So can you share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what made you decide to compete for Outstanding Teen?
Absolutely. I am Rachel, supposed to be Hancock, still working on the name change. The whole situation going on right now is just like, I have not been able to do that, but I'm technically Rachel Hancock. I was Rachel Strever, and I am from Winter Springs, Florida. I now live in Winter Park, and I absolutely love it here. I decided to try out. I never was a pageant girl. Like, that was like, I didn't even like really understand it at all. But Megan, who is my mentor, she was trying to be Miss Florida for like probably 4 or 5 years. And I was her princess throughout that whole time. That's where I fell in love with the organization. I realized that it wasn't just a pageant. It was about so much more, and it was becoming the best version of yourself. Like, you just learn. Like, I grew up real fast. And so it was really awesome to be able to learn and see that. And so I loved it. I fell in love with it, and I wanted to try and become Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen.
Well, you did it.
Yes.
Part of that year of service for you?
Oh, that's such a hard question, because it's like everything is so great. Like, how could I pick like one thing? How would I like narrow it down? Well, everyone has a platform, and one of the coolest things, even when like I interviewed you, I felt a very good connection with you, because I know you're a cancer survivor. I'll always remember that. And that was part of my platform, was helping children who are trying to beat that cancer. And like, I would go into the hospitals and just like their whole world. Like, I seriously, if you can like see the chills on my body, like, it was something about it. Not only was it filling their lives and with so much joy, like just having a crown and giving them, we would give them food sometimes we would give them little gifts. Like, it was always something different, but like, it filled my heart up with so much joy and love that I could never ever like imagine. You know, it's just like, it's so amazing to not only change their lives, but they changed mine too. And it was like so rewarding for me to be able to do that. And I missed that. After that year, I missed doing that. And so it was cool, and we'll talk about it later, but like, I got to do that with the magic, which I thought was so cool. What else? That was probably like, honestly, now that I talk about it, that was probably my favorite. But I love having like a forever sisterhood. I think that's like one of the coolest things. Definitely just getting to know everybody. Like, my dad personally, he'll tell you that too. Like, my whole family, they'll be like, that's the coolest part, is you're around the most genuine, honest, loving people, and you don't get to surround yourself with that every day. And I just loved that every time I'd go around all these people, they just were just so happy. And I don't get to go to the grocery store and everyone's just like, hey everyone, you know. It's like, it was so cool to like be around that at all times. And I love that. That's what always kept me coming back, was just the people.
Yeah, I completely agree. Every single organizations just you know, I realized that when I was competing. I think I realize it even more now, like being
Definitely
first Outstanding Teen, you really see the impact firsthand, and like how busy they are with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so cool is they volunteer to do that. Like, and that's not something that they're making money off of. And I just find that so amazing. They're all incredible.
So selfless. So you continued dancing, and you were the youngest person ever to make the Orlando Magic dance.
Yes.
I think that's just so awesome. And you danced with them for 4 years. So what was that experience like, and what was one of your favorite things you did with them?
So ever since I was 6 years old, my dad has been a huge Magic fan, and he got me into I used to be on the dance team called the Magic Minis. So I had the Princess program that got me into Miss Florida. So then I got, you know, the Magic Minis, where you dance 6 times a year on the court, and you had a mentor. That's how I met Megan. She was a mentor to me, and she was an Orlando Magic dancer. And I loved everything about it. It was that same exact type of situation. You're out in your community, you're making an impact on other people's lives, you're doing what you love. Like both times I got to perform, with the pageants and then magic. And I think all of that just really made me want to try out. And I counted down the years. I was like, I got 2 more years left. I got 1 more year left. And pageants 100%, like 120% are the reason why I made it at such a young age. Because Janine, who is the coach, she actually used to do pageants. She was like Miss Daytona Beach. Yeah, it was really cool. She was something like that. And so she was very into, you're not only a dancer, you're a ambassador for the community. And your job 60% of the time is to go out and talk to everybody, and I just loved everything. It wasn't just about being a dancer. And so when I made it at 18, I was not expecting it. Like I was backstage, and I will always remember this moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I'm at this moment right now. And then they named my, like, at least it wasn't the end, but they named it in the middle. And I was just like, what is going on? And then on top of that, as if the worlds didn't collide of pageant and magic, Teresa Scanlon, Miss America, the same year as me, we became like super close because she was very young when she made it. She was in the stands, like rooting me on. It was the coolest, like, again, I have chills. Like, it was the coolest experience of my entire life to make it that first year when I turned 18 and then 2 weeks after I made it.
Oh my gosh, such a full circle moment.
I know. Now that I think about it even more, like, I'm like, holy crap, like how everything just like tied together. It was all meant to be every time.
So that first skate was probably one of the most memorable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I could like probably, I like kind of have like, tears in my eyes just like thinking about it, because it was so rewarding to be able to not only make it my first year, because I have some friends that took years to make it. And then I'm 18, just got out of high school. Like, it was just insane. I was just like, what on earth? Like, it was so cool. It was so rewarding. I can't even tell you. I normally dance my heart out, but like then I was just like, yeah, it's like, you mark it. It was awesome.
I love that. And I think it's so also, you graduated from UCF with your bachelor's in 2018.
Yes.
About that education. And then now you and your husband have a business together called Thyself Rocks. So can you share a little bit about what the company is and what made you all want to start it?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I have to like shorten this, right? Well, one, I brought my business card because, I have to explain all about what's on the back of the business card too. Because again, everything like still ties together, which is so cool. So a lot of people know, and I'm okay with sharing this at this point. It took me a very long time to share it. But when I was in pageants, the first thing that ever happened to me where I ever had body issues was a trainer that I was working on. He had basically told me that, like, not that I'm overweight, but he said it in a way like that. Like, your BMI basically is like too much. And being 16 or 15 or whatever I was at the time, nobody had ever told me that before. And I was just like so distraught by that. And I think I just focused on just being so skinny. And by the end of my year, even though I did a great job, I truly believe I did a great job being Miss Photos Outstanding Teen. That's one thing that I didn't do. I really struggled with an eating disorder. And that honestly carried on with me. So I conquered it, right? I was healthy. I could live again. I conquered it. And then I had magic again, where I basically stopped therapy early and tried out for magic. And then I struggled with it throughout those 4 years. I was a lot better at it because I never wanted to fall back to what I was. But the core reason why I never healed myself was because I didn't love myself. And so 3 years ago, nobody knows this pretty much besides like my closest family. And I'm okay with sharing this now. And I share it. If you follow us on our shop, I share it all the time. But my body gave up. It just like, I was bedridden. I couldn't do anything for 2 months, 3 months. I truly didn't know if I was gonna live. Like that whole entire time, I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks one time, and then it was crazy. It was just my body like basically giving up, and it was overworked, and then I even went to the doctors too. So like I went to all of these doctors. Nobody could tell me how I'm supposed to like, they're like, well, if you get better, you get better. If you live through this, like, yeah, like they had no answers. I even went to Mayo Clinic. Like if anyone knows what Mayo Clinic is, that's like the top of the line. They had no answers for me. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And I was introduced to Reiki, which is energetic healing. And from there, I finally started feeling better. I slowly started therapy several months later, and then I started feeling better after that. I was introduced to crystals through Reiki session, and I basically had like an out-of-body experience. Yeah. And after that, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was just like, just mind blown. And I'm like, I put all my crystals around here right now so I can show you them. But so that was like the moment for me that it really changed my life. And I truly now, and I read all these books and everything, it's long, really long story short. But the biggest outtake from all of that is I learned to love myself. Like I learned what it's like to love yourself when you wake up in the morning, when you eat too much food that night, when you, whatever is going on in your life, you love yourself for every single part of it. And that also helped my husband who struggled. So I struggled with an eating disorder, then he struggled with an addiction with alcohol. And that also helped him cure. He's never ever going to drink alcohol again. He's completely cured that. And I can promise that too. Like some people say like addiction is something you work on your whole life. But if you love yourself, you know you want to do what's best for you. So that's in sum what started Loving Thyself Rocks. I started it to not only express my feelings towards how crystals heal your life in a holistic way, but how to truly love yourself. And in order to love yourself, you can finally love other people. Like I didn't know what it was like to love anybody else until I loved myself. So like, that's why I brought this, because the back of it, you can't read it because it's like this little tiny thing, but it has a self-love challenge. It's a business card, and every single one of them gets a 30-day self-love challenge. And that alone has like changed thousands of people's lives. So it's so cool that not only am I selling crystals, doing what I love, but I'm also doing something that I'm super passionate about, and that's telling people the importance of why it's so important to love yourself first.
Well, everyone, we'll share it at the end, like where everyone can check it out. Because we want to support you, and I think that's just so amazing that you all are doing that. Because you experienced that and you got through it, and now you're helping others with it, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, thank you. And I also keep this with me like all times if I'm having anxiety. It's called lithium. It's called lepidolite. It's also, it's really pretty, right? But it naturally contains lithium inside of it, and lithium is in anti-anxiety medicine. So when you hold this, it's basically a natural form of relieving that anxiety. I've helped people, like so many different, like Marines, Army, like all the people that struggle the most with PTSD. Some nurses right now, they're really asking me more than ever, I'm struggling with this, and they have just seen the most miraculous results. So I think, and where I was saying where it ties together too is like, my passion for always wanting to give back. Like once I have something so passionate about, I'm always wanting to give it back to everybody else. I'm just like, how can I help you? I'm such a healer, I guess.
Well, that's so cool that you have that. I just love it.
Thank you.
So I have questions that I like to ask every guest that's on Always and Forever. And so the first one is, who is one of your favorite forever Miss Floridas and or Miss Americas?
Well, that is an easy question for me because, I love every single one of them, and I think they're always making an impact. But the reason why these would be my favorite is because they were during my year, and I got to know them the best. And that's only fair, because if I got to know anyone else, I'm sure they would be my favorites too. But definitely Christina Honolo. I can't remember her new last name at the moment, but we were like sisters during the year. I mean, she is such an incredible person. And during my year, I always will remember, not only was I always wanting to get out of the community, but because of her, I was always wanting to do more too. And with her, and her family is one of the most incredible people I've ever met, and just so giving and loving. And I think she always made a great representation of what a true Miss Florida should be. And then my favorite Miss America would have to be Teresa. Obviously, if she was in the Magic while I was at the auditions, but she is so amazing. She has a child now, and whenever she comes to Orlando, we try to make something happen. She's just, she made it too when she was super young. She made it when she was like 17. I mean, it just goes to show that she's just such an amazing person. I don't know. It's like something about her. Whenever you see her, you're just whole world. You're just like, hi. America. Yes.
So when you were competing, what was your favorite area of competition?
I love them all, but I love talent. I love dancing. For me, I would always be so nervous, and it was just a really fun way to express myself, and it helped me release everything that needed to be released. And during those times, I just remember, like, if I was like feeling really anxious, I'd be like, all right, it's time to dance. Yes.
Dance is just like such a great therapy. I relate to that. Just dance, yes. Stress, go dance.
Yes, exactly.
So what's your best piece of pageant advice for girls who are going to be competing for Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen? You've been on the judges' side of the table, and you've been on the competing side.
Yes.
For them.
Oh my goodness. I feel like there's so much advice that like I truly could give, and it could pinpoint to like each person, like this is what you could work on, this is what you could work on. But in a whole, I think, and it goes back to the same thing that I was talking about before, and what I wish that I knew, especially at such a young age, is the most important thing that you can possibly do for yourself is love yourself through the process. Know that if you don't win something, it's okay. You did the best that you can possibly do. And through everything, like when you go through every situation, through the talent, through the interviews, everything, always put your best self out there, because when you love yourself, you gonna shine. you're gonna glisten, and the judges are gonna see that. Like, I always knew when I was judging, I always knew who loved themselves the most. I could see it, I could feel it, and to me, that's a Miss Florida.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Thank you.
How can people keep up with you and Loving Thyself Rocks on social media?
So we're mostly on Instagram. We have a little bit of presence on Facebook and Pinterest and TikTok, a little bit of those, just because I know you have to. But we're number one on Instagram. We're Loving Thyself Rocks. You can follow us on there. We also have an Etsy shop. We're working on a website, but we have an Etsy. If you have ever any questions, if you know a loved one that needs some help, and we're always there to guide. That's what we're there for. We're not just a shop. We're not just here to sell crystals. We're here to help heal your life. So yeah, definitely Instagram. That's like number one.
I'll put the links in the description so everyone can go check.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I loved being able to catch up with you and hear your awesome stories. I know that everyone's going to be so inspired by them.
Oh, thank you so much.